Good. Hello, it's Paula here. Welcome to my crafty channel. We are nearing the end of the catalogue run for this Close to My Heart catalogue from March to April 2024. And there was one layout in here that I absolutely loved that I thought I must replicate at some point. And that is the one you're seeing right now, this one at the front of the page. It is actually using our gorgeous range called Let's Go Anywhere, which has got a real delightful array of colours, some of the deeper sapphires in here, some of that lighter periwinkle, some greens. You can do a bit of nature with it, but obviously there's this hero piece which has got passports on one side and then a real sort of travel effect with suitcases and hats and travelling bits and pieces on the other side. So this is a really fun range and I really wanted to use it. So we're going to replicate this front cover in a way that suits for me. So what we're going to use to do that is we're going to use this piece of the paper range. It's got the passports on this side and it's got a really lovely sort of geo grid on the other side. So we've got that piece to work with. I have pulled in, using the zip strip, it gives you an indication of some of the colours that match. So I've pulled in some French vanilla, some periwinkle, some, what's that one called, toffee, and then also some pieces of scarlet as well, which is a lovely deep red, because that is the colour that's coming through in here. You'll see there's also, we could have played on pine, which is awesome. There is charcoal in this range as well, and then the lovely sage, a lighter green. So there's a whole heap of other colours we could pull in as well. I'm just going to start with these. Now I'm thinking that I might frame my piece with this toffee. I'll go with probably the darker side, but we'll see how that goes. But we'll set that aside first, because what I want to do to replicate is just get our little panels going. And this passport panel to me is around 6 inches. I could work it out with my little magic ruler, but I can just sort of see it's pretty much that. So I'm just going to take the zip strip off this piece and then cut my passport piece on the correct orientation so I've got the passports up right. So let's just grab that 6-inch piece to begin with. We're going to start with that. Then we also need to have another side with the French vanilla. Now, depending on if you are going to mat the back or not would depend on whether you make this one also 6 inches or whether you go 7 inches, just to give yourself that little bit of overlap so that you can stick the two pieces together. Now, I'm going to go 6 inches because I do know that I'm going to do the matting. So I'm just going to do that for now, and we're going to place those two pieces side by side as our starting point. So we've got the base, and then we've also got this really fun element of a triangle. So I'm going to take my periwinkle paper and I'm going to cut it in half and do a, do I want to cut it in half? Let me just think about it. I know I've got a half piece of this, so I'm going to do a 6-inch with this, and this is going to be the front one. So actually my periwinkle I'm going to cut a little larger. So I'm going to do a 6 by 6 square and then cut my diagonal. I always just make sure my points are at the right spot with my wire first, and then I go up and down rather than bunching up the end of my triangle. So I've got my little triangle here, and that was from a 6-inch square. So I'm going to actually do a 7-inch square with my periwinkle. So let's just go down at 7 inches. I'm probably going to use the darker side. I quite like the rich colour coming through from that. So I'll do 7 inches and the 7 inches. And we've actually got left a 7 by 5, which could be 5 by 7, which could be a good size for a photo mat. So let's just have that one handy. Once again, we're going to do the triangles on here, which will just give us that nice framing behind our green triangle. And let's just pop it together. So we have got the green triangle, the periwinkle triangle on top of the passport paper, and we've got the French vanilla on the other side, and the potential for a, let's just pull this over a bit so you can see it all, potential for a photo mat in this spot here. So that's coming together really nicely. Next thing on this is you can see that there is an element of stamping on that French vanilla. So I'm going to do some stamping using a couple of stamp sets from my little kit. So in here we have a scrapbooking stamp and a card making stamp on this side that's got all these really fun elements. There's so much in these sets. Love the globe, love this little swirly. And then I've also, from the back, I haven't actually got the card making set here, but I do have the card making kit stamp set, which again has got some lovely words and little swirly bits. So they could come in use for us as well. So let's just turn over this mat. So we've got a stamping surface. I'm going to bring my French vanilla over, and I'm going to just use the toffee shade. So you can see we've got that kind of light brown coming through, which is the toffee colours that are in this kit. So I'm going to use my toffee ink, and I'm going to pull in things like that little swirly and that little swirly, and then we have got little aeroplanes as well, so I might possibly pull in those. So let's just start with that. So I'll start with my biggest element first to do my random stamping, and I might just go slightly off the page with some of them, twist it around, pull in lots of different shapes so we can have that feeling of movement going on, off the page again, all over, just to give us a real bit of variety of this zoomy aeroplane and going all over the place. It's quite fun. A few more. Just go slightly off over here. Can we fit one in there? We can, so let's just get it in a slightly different angle to some of the others. It's looking really fun. So easy. And now, once I've filled in these little gaps down here, I will do a few of the smaller ones just to make it all look a little bit more higgledy-piggledy and fun. This one is a nice small one, so we can kind of find little spots for it all over the place, which works well. So this is the one that's from the card making kit. Yeah, and a couple more through here. That's pretty good. And then we've got that little aeroplane. So this is a larger aeroplane, but I think it could look quite fun to have a few of these. Oh, make sure we've stamped it well. Might just re-ink it. Just go very carefully over that one. Yep, that one's worked. Just make sure I stamp it properly, not too light. What have we got happening over here? We could have a little one coming in. I think I might do about 5 of them. Which means we probably just need one coming down from there. How's that? So we've got a nice background now. We've created our own paper, which looks really effective. And we have used just a little variety of stamps to help us do that. Now I am also going to pull in my, a toffee. I've got one handy. Let me just have a little look. This one will do the job. Just a little bit of blending over these. Now I'm just going to do it really lightly, partly because I've only just stamped it, but also it's just, we just want a little bit of distressing going on. So I'm just going to concentrate on some of the circles and use that as my base. But just adds a little bit of a distressed effect to the cardstock, a little bit more interest for our background, so it's not too plain white. It's coming in nicely. And then the last thing I'm going to do is go around all the edges with this, and I'll probably grab a sponge dauber. If I can find one that's a similar colourway, this one will do the job. And I'm just going to pull in the colour around the outside, just to get a little bit of distressing. So I'll just finish that off quickly and come back. Right, so we've got the distressing done on here. We know that this is going to line up on the other side over here. And I'm now just going to frame it with my piece of toffee. So I do like to have frames, especially if it's going to be a single page, which I think this one may be. It's kind of a nice title page or a final page for a little trip. So this is going to come in, and I'm thinking I might keep this one at 6 inches, but I might pull this one down slightly and have the border going all the way around this, which does mean that I need to take off about, we'll start with, let's just say, oh, I might do quite a solid one. So let's just do a 1/2 inch, pull off the bottom, which means I'm going to have to distress that little bit again. And that's going to pop in there for a nice solid frame, which will work really well. So I'm liking that. I'll just finish off the distressing on that one. I ended up pulling in a sponge because I found the sponge, and my dauber was getting a little old. I haven't had new daubers for a little while, so I've got a very brittle dauber. So there, that's finished that one off really nicely. You will find too that we've got a little 1/4 inch extra than what we need, but I don't mind having that tucking underneath just so that we don't have any little gaps. So I'm going to stick those pieces down and then we'll go to work on the next bit of decorating. Right, so we've got it down here now. I actually did distress around the outside of this piece as well. That's where our photo mat's going to go, just to give us a little bit of a dimension of where we're heading. And now on here, we have got this piece behind here. Now they've actually used a patterned piece of paper, which is this really lovely one that's got the little fleck of black or sapphire through it. But I've just used plain periwinkle cardstock. So I thought I'd look through my stash to see what I had to add a little bit of texture. And I actually found from an album retreat, Wide Open Spaces is the name of the stamp set. But there was this one with this little geogrid on the side here, which I thought that will just add a little bit of texture to my periwinkle to give it some interest before I carry on. So let's just pop the stamp onto here. I'm going to flip my mat over again. And we're just going to add a little bit of texture onto this. I'm going to just use periwinkle on periwinkle initially. I may switch to using sapphire, but let's just see. I'll just do it in the middle first because that's not going to be seen. Is it going to be enough? I just might try once with the sapphire too and compare. It's good when you know there's a little piece that's going to be hidden because you can just have a little try. Is that going to be too much? I suspect that might be a bit much, yes. So I'm going to stick to the periwinkle. Just use some scrap paper and stamp that off a bit. Give it a slight wipe. Right, so we won't be using the sapphire. We'll pull the sapphire out of the picture. And let's continue with our periwinkle, just giving the edges that little bit of interest. Now, if you're a little worried about your mat, this is such a light colour, I'm not too bothered, but you could be putting a scrap piece of paper under your project right about now, as I'm going off the edges slightly. And there we go, that's just given some interest over the edges, and I'm just going to swipe my piece onto my ink pad as well, just to give a nice defined edge on the pieces that are going to show, and then along that, just in case there's a little element of that showing. It shouldn't be, but that's going to be the starting of our lovely arrows. Looks interesting now, doesn't it, with that piece in the middle? And then we're going to cover it over with this, and that's just given us a really nice element of interest to the periwinkle. Now again, I'm just going to grab a might even actually grab the pine ink and do the little edge on that other one as well. That's sage and pine together. So let's just grab a little light edging. That's looking nice. And we'll pop those on together. And that bit of differentiation really helps. I just missed a patch. So there we go. So let's just adhere those two together, and we are getting the base of our layout all done, all structured. So if we go back again, I used 6 inches of the passport paper. I have ended up using 5 3/4 inches of the French vanilla, 5 1/2 this direction, sorry, 11 1/2 this direction, and 5 3/4 that direction. And I have used a 6-inch square diagonally cut and a 7-inch square diagonally cut. So there's some measurements for you if you want to replicate with what you've got in your stash. So how's that looking? We've got a pretty good base that looks very similar to what we had to work with here. Okay, so I'm going to probably use that periwinkle as a base, but I do want to bring in some of that scarlet. So I have pre-cut a bit of a photo mat here, just a little larger than the photo size, and then I have pulled in some French vanilla. So I'm just layering up all the layers. So if it's a really defined, that's my photo, that's my example photo. Haven't actually got one printed at the moment. We'll pop that on there, and you've got a really nice layer. Now I got this idea, I think it was Jama, she pulled in a bit of the scarlet, and I just loved that combo going on with this paper. So, and I'm a bit of a red lover. Now we can also bring in some, a smaller photo if we wish to. So I could pop this down over here, maybe a little bit of an, lapping it underneath there, if I'm wanting to bring in more than just one photo, because we do like to have as many photos as we can to tell a story. So that works beautifully. So we've got our basis going on there, but now we need to look at doing some embellishing. I will adhere those down and we will see what we're going to come up with. Okay, so everything's adhered now, and I found these couple of tags that I had in one of my previous sets. It was one that had a whole bunch of different styles of tags, so it's always a really handy one to have on hand. So I thought a large tag and a smaller tag could go on here nicely as a starting point for our embellishing. So I've cut out a large one from the toffee cardstock, some of the leftovers, thinking it might come in here somewhere. And I've cut out a small one. Now I've actually pre-stamped this, and I looked around and I found in this old Christmas set actually that we had a tag that was a similar shape. So I've just stamped that over the top just to get some sort of some lines on there. Obviously it hasn't quite gone all the way, so that bit I'll just have to tuck away or just chop off. But that was just my starting point for these. So let's just decorate these tags to make them a little bit more interesting. So I will turn this over. And I think on this one I'm going to place a word. Now I did see in our card set we've got that fun one that says let's explore together. So I thought we could use that one. And I could use it with sapphire or pine. I'm just trying to decide here. I'm thinking I might do sapphire. So I'll pull in the sapphire. Let's explore together. It's a nice little saying. It's got some cool arrows on it too, which I love. And I'm putting it a little closer to that side because I know I'm going to have to tuck in that little end. So that's a really fun little embellishment that I'm going to pop on there somewhere. Then we have got this one, the toffee. I'm thinking it needs a little bit of background interest. So I could just pull back in that GeoGrid, or actually, I've got a nice idea. I'm just going to get a bit of scrap paper. And let's use the toffee ink pad. And where's that disappeared to? That's sapphire. And the toffee ink pad has gone walkabouts. Let me just find that and come back to you. Right, we found the hidden ink. What I'm going to do is I'm just actually going to swipe it over. It's a little tricky because I've got the shape already cut. I'm just going to swipe it over back and forth a little bit just to give it a more distressed effect. So let's just do that. That gives it some interest in the background. Now we are replicating in a way either that tag or this one here. So these are stickers, and if you've got the sticker sheet you could just pile up all your stickers, and it's such a cool fun look bundling everything up. But I'm just going to, I think I'm going to use the word adventure, but I want to put it onto this tag. So I've had a little look-sees, and we've got this fun set which a lot of you have got at the moment just recently. It's got die cuts out both the outline and the solid. So I've cut out the word adventure with the French vanilla to give us that solid word. So let's just pop those in. Let's see if they fit in well and are going to make this tag look a bit interesting. So where's all my letters? Here they are. So see if we can spell it. So add, A-D, add, what's a T? Venture. So we're going to have adventure, so we're kind of replicating that fun sticker that they had. And that said adventure is waiting, but I think we might just go let's go adventure. Okay, that's going to look quite fun on there. So I might again, oh, should I do pine this time? No, I think I'll stick to the sapphire. Just add in our let's go up the top. And once I've stuck those little pieces down, we're going to have a little fun element to pop onto my page. So that's the start of our decoration. So I'll just adhere those and come back to you for the next lot. Right, so I've got my adventure letters stuck on here, and I'm thinking I was going to pop it up here, and I'm just thinking now it's quite a big sentiment, so I'm going to pop it down here, and I need to put a little bit of twine through there. Here's the Let's Explore Together title, and I'm wondering whether we just pop this one over here and do a little bit of something in between. So if we go back to our fun stamp sets that we've got this one here with a globe, it's got a suitcase, it's got passports, We have got this one too, which has got the really neat compass and nice words which are already used. And then I also found my wide open spaces again, and this has got some really neat little maps, and it's actually got the little backpack. Now, although I do like the suitcase, I'm probably going to use this for our Abel Tasman journey when we are going as a family down to do a bit of backpacking and walking through the lovely national park. So I am thinking that the backpack might be a really cool option to use. Now, I've also got these shapes, and I always love bringing in things like those little elements or these little arrows. So we're going to have a little play with some of the things that I have cut out. So let's have a little look. So I have got, I did cut out the globe from our really fun scrapbooking set. I did also distress this with a bit of the toffee ink onto the toffee paper too, just to give it a bit more variation. So I'm thinking that can probably tuck in here somewhere. I might be able to pull this one over slightly. Bring this down a little touch, maybe something like that. Then we've got some passports which I have pre-cut. I did one in sapphire and one in sage. So those could be quite neat elements, just sort of tucked in here. So long as we can still read this, that's going to work just fine. So something like that might work. I have got the zip strip left over, and I did wonder about maybe putting a little piece up here. I might just tear a little bit. Let's just do that now. Tear a little piece. Can always make it a bit shorter if I want to, but something like that up there will bring a little bit of that colour up. Then I'm thinking up here we've got that shape that I said is quite a nice little extra to add as a tab. So I have cut that one in the sapphire at the moment, so that could be popped up here as well. We could almost have them up a bit higher. I'm not sure yet. I think I actually preferred that one down there, so we'll see how that one works. Now, what else have I cut? I have cut the cool little map, so that too was from that album retreat set, so maybe we're going to have a map on here. And in our card making set we've got this really fun compass, so I have cut out that piece and the base. But then I noticed in this set they've actually got a stamp that is also a navigational tool. So I've stamped it on the inside. I couldn't get the whole lot on, but it's just given that a little bit of interest. So that can just go up here. I may need to put a little brad in the center of that to make it look a bit more realistic, but let's just see if that pops up here somewhere. What else? We've still got that little backpack. So the little backpack could be open, white, or I could just do a real light touch, which I think I might do. Very lightly, just a little hint of sapphire inside there, just to give that a bit of interest. So there's our little cute backpack. I have actually also, from the background paper, cut out a whole ton of little passports. So I could have just used these down here if I didn't have the stamp, or tucked a few of those up there for a bit of colour, but I don't think I will use those now. I have got these lovely little arrows. Again, that's from this. I cut them out in a couple of different colours. So we can do something a little bit down here with those to bring in some strong colour. So it's starting to come together now and look a little bit similar to our piece over here. So let's just finish this off. I think I'm going to have my little backpack tucked here. We might just tuck them behind that tab. This is going to be there. Have a little bit of a map coming up here. So we've got our little idea of tramping or walking over there. We've got our adventure, we've got let's explore together. We're going on a plane because we want to get down to Nelson. So we've got that kind of look. We don't need our passports, but they look cool in there too. So I think we're starting to get to the point that I'm ready to say that's it. We're going to add in a little thread, add in a little brad, obviously add our photos on here, and it's going to be a fabulous start to our adventure at Abel Tasman. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how that cover page can be put together. There's a few tips through the video on sizes and measurements, so I hope you have a little try. Give it a go, see what you create with your stash of products. Have a fabulous crafting week. See you!